literature. Later, became manager. In 19 a weekly newspaper which was soon converted to Le Militant. In the same year, Mr. Bagalou, one of the founding members of the MMM, became the first president of the party. Some years later, he left the MMM and joined the Mauritius Labour Party. In December 1976, he contested the first general election after independence as a Labour candidate under the banner of the Independence Party and was elected third member for constituency number 18, Belrose and Quatre-Bornes, to serve the then Legislative Assembly. He was appointed Minister of Education. However, he resigned both as Minister and Member of Parliament in January 1977. In 1982, he again contested the general election in constituency number 6, Grand B and Poudre d'Or, under the banner of l'Alliance nationale, but was not returned. Thereafter, Mr. Bagalou severed all ties with politics and dedicated himself to the education sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, may I request you to kindly direct the clerk to convey the deep condolences of the Assembly to the bereaved family.
I associate myself with the tribute made by the Honourable Prime Minister to late Mr. Iralal Bagalou, and I also request the clerk to convey the condolences of the opposition to the bereaved family.
May I be allowed to join the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition in our tribute.
Thank you. Honourable members, I associate myself with the tribute paid to the memory of late Mr. Iralal Bagalou, former Member of Parliament by the Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, and Honourable Béranger, and I direct the clerk to convey the deep condolences of the Assembly to the bereaved family.
Those have been laid. Questions?
Leader of Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, my question is addressed to the Honourable Minister of Health and Let me start again.
Carry on.
My question is addressed to the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness, whether in regard to the COVID-19 pandemic, he will state, A, between 1st November to midnight 29th November 2021, the number of registered deaths and the comparative figure for the corresponding period in 2020, and 2, deaths attributed to COVID-19 according to his ministry, indicating the number of the deceased who were fully vaccinated and with which vaccines. B, the number of 60 years plus persons having received a booster dose as at date, and the number of doses of Sinopharm vaccines to be gifted or sold to Africa, and if to be sold, at what price. And C, whether the Omicron variant has been detected in Mauritius, and if consideration will be given And finally, if consideration will be given for the granting of a 14th month bonus to all medical and non-medical officers working in public health institutions.
Mr. Speaker, sir, let me first express our deepest condolences on this side of the House to the family of late Dr. Ashraf Pulu, consultant in charge pediatrics posted at AGG2 Hospital. His demise today, and each time we lose one of our healthcare workers, is a reminder of the challenging task of our frontliners and of their dedication to their duty. As Minister of Health and Wellness, I will continue to offer my unconditional support to my staff, be it in the treatment centers or at the administrative level. They can always rely on me to defend them against malevolent minds who do not hesitate to openly and needlessly attack them just for the sake of petty and futile political mileage. Moreover, more than ever, we on this side of the House wish to thank our frontliners for their relentless efforts in ensuring that the health and wellness of our population prevails. Our thoughts and prayers are also directed towards all the families bereaved by the loss of a dear one. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is an undeniable fact. The world is going through difficult and testing times. For almost 2 years now, we have been constantly adapting and upgrading our preparedness to address the pandemic. Mauritius has based its preventive response on the necessity to strictly adhere to sanitary measures and vaccination. And in spite of the constant emergence of new variants, these two measures have shown their efficacy and remain life-saving. Our population is today fully aware of the various sanitary measures they need to adopt to protect themselves from the virus. Mauritius has also succeeded in widely vaccinating its population, and today we are at par, and to some extent even ahead of some developed countries regarding vaccine coverage. My ministry, through its scientific surveillance mechanism, is also keeping up to date with latest treatment protocols. My ministry has already procured new drugs available on the market, which have shown better efficacy. My ministry has also pre-ordered drugs being newly developed, such as Ronaprev by Roche Manufacturing Limited, which is supplying governments only. Our pre-order strategy is based on available scientific evidence. I wish to seize this opportunity to express our gratitude to the scientific world, which has contributed significantly to fight this pandemic through the rapid development of appropriate vaccines and treatment. They have also been on the forefront and have constantly been equipping our world with the required tools to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on our populations. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part A1 of the question, according to information obtained from the Civil Status Office, for the period 1st November 2021 to 29th November 2021, the total number of registered deaths stands at 1,686. The total number of deaths for the 29 days for the corresponding period last year was 855. As I have already explained in my reply to the PNQ of 19th November 2021, statistics should be analyzed and compared over long term, that is, over 6 months, for the trend to be fully captured. As for the pandemic, countries will experience a peak before the pandemic dies out. Mauritius has been witnessing a rise in the number of COVID-19 cases over the past week. However, the number of cases has started to decrease. As such, it is malicious to focus on statistics within a punctual time frame. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to reiterate that we on this side of the House are not in favor of treating deaths as mere digits and figures. Mr. Speaker, sir, it has been at several times insinuated that my ministry is not providing the true figures. I would like to reiterate that the statistics are collected at the level of each hospital and sent to my ministry each day. Similarly, statistics from private health institutions are forwarded.
Point of order.
I heard the Honourable Minister say malicious. Was that addressed to me? I heard him say malicious.
Did you...
Is that the way to answer a question?
Okay. You made your point.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I repeat what I've said, and again, if those who are willing to take it that they are in that malicious category, this is their problem.
Is there anything like malicious?
Direct, I've not pointed out to anybody in person, Mr. Speaker, sir. However,
Okay.
so I'll repeat it. However, the number of cases has started to decrease.
Speaker, on a point of order. There is one person who is the leader of the opposition who has put the questions asking for statistics, and he said that it is malicious to concentrate on statistics. Obviously, he means the leader of the opposition. And if he did not, he should withdraw
I
it.
understand your point of order, but it is not necessarily. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I repeat to what I've said before. However, the number of cases has started to decrease. As such, it is malicious to focus on statistics within a punctual time. Within a punctual time frame. I will continue, Mr. Speaker, sir. Similarly, statistics from private health institutions are also forwarded on a daily basis to enable figures at the national level to be compiled. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part A2 of the question, I am informed that the number of persons who have passed away due to COVID-19 from 1st November 2021 to midnight of 29th November 2021, according to the statistics at the level of my ministry, stands at 348. Out of this number, 156 were fully vaccinated, namely AstraZeneca 16, representing 0.02% of those vaccinated with same, Covaxin 44, representing 0.09% of the same vaccine, Johnson & Johnson 8, representing 0.007%, and Sinopharm 88, representing 0.04%. Between 1st November 2021 and 29 November 2021, the mortality rate of unvaccinated persons stood at 15.6 per 100,000 population, whereas the mortality rate for people vaccinated with Sinopharm is at 7.2 per 100,000 population, therefore clearly evidencing the efficacy of the vaccine. Mr. Speaker, sir, as per WHO advice of September 2021, I quote, un vaste essai multi-pays de phase 3 a montré que 2 doses administrées à un intervalle de 21 jours ont une efficacité de 79% contre l'infection à SARS-CoV symptomatique, 14 jours ou plus après la deuxième dose. L'efficacité du vaccin contre l'hospitalisation était de 79%. Furthermore, the WHO advised on 15th November 2021 that I quote, there are several safe and effective vaccines that prevent people from getting seriously ill or dying from COVID-19. This is one part of managing COVID-19, in addition to the main preventive measures of staying at least 1 meter away from others, covering a cough or sneeze in your elbow, frequently cleaning your hands, wearing a mask, and avoiding poorly ventilated rooms and opening a window. As of 15th November 2021, WHO has evaluated that the following vaccines against COVID-19 have met the necessary criteria for safety and efficacy. AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, Sinopharm, Sinovac, and Covaxin, unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part B1 of the question, I wish to inform the House that the booster dose is being administered as from September 2021, and as at date, 94,846 persons have been vaccinated, out of which 33,713 persons aged 60 and above have received their booster dose. Mr. Speaker, sir, in accordance with our vaccination strategy, priority of consideration is being given to, firstly, to the frontliners such as health personnel, both from public and private sectors, medical and dental practitioners, and personnel of pharmacies. Secondly, to patients with comorbidities such as cancer patients, dialysis patients, patients having undergone renal transplant, patients with severe respiratory diseases, immunosuppressant patients, and trisomy patients. And thirdly, pregnant women. I wish to inform the House that out of the 230,000 persons aged above 60, 206,487 have already been fully vaccinated. The vaccine efficiency is valid for at least 6 months. Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of the vaccine efficacy period, I wish to point out that the number of persons 60 years and above who were fully vaccinated as from 26 January to 31st May 2021 stands at 29,303. As I have just informed the House, 33,713 persons aged 60 and above have already received their booster dose. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part B2 of the question, The House may wish to note that government has always been providing assistance to other friendly countries in the region. In this context, in view of this critical situation in India in April this year, particularly the scarcity of oxygen in that country for the treatment of patients, government donated 200 oxygen concentrators to India. These were sent to India by a special Air Mauritius flight on 28 April 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, similarly, this year, 100 cylinders of oxygen and personal protective equipment were also donated to Madagascar. In the same spirit, government has decided to assist countries in the region in their vaccination strategy. Consequently, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Cooperation and International Trade is coordinating the bilateral assistance. Rwanda expressed its interest to receive both Sputnik 5 and Sinopharm vaccines. 60,000 doses of Sputnik 5 have already been sent to Kigali, and 50,000 doses of Sinopharm vaccines are being airlifted today. Moreover, Zimbabwe expressed its interest to receive Sinopharm vaccines. 60,000 doses of the vaccines were sent to Harare on 22 November 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of our friendly ties with these countries and in a spirit of regional cooperation, this government has never considered the question of payment for the vaccine or other equipment and supplies. Cela ne nous a jamais effleuré l'esprit, Monsieur le Président. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part C1 of the question, as of now, the Omicron variant has not been detected in Mauritius based on S-gene target failure and sequencing. However, a preparedness plan has been finalized at the level of my ministry to detect Omicron variant. Mr. Speaker, sir, the current average COVID-19 test capacity of Central Health Lab is more than 2,000 tests per day. The maximum test performed by Cordus Health Laboratory in a single day stands at 3,800. Local sequencing capacity is in place. 2 platforms are available for sequencing, namely Ion Torrent and Nanopore technologies. 200 samples can be sequenced per month locally. PCR is regularly carried out for diagnosis also of SARS-CoV Omicron, like other variants of concern, can be picked up by the current PCR assay being used at Central Health Laboratory, which is using E and N gene for diagnosis. As from 29 November 2021, my ministry has also included S gene in our PCR assay panel to monitor S gene target failure. The S gene target failure gives an indication of a variant. All samples showing S gene target failure will then be further sequenced to know the type of variant. Mr. Speaker, sir, yesterday, the Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros, has stated, quote, we don't yet know whether Omicron is associated with more transmission, more severe diseases, more risk of reinfections, or more risk of evading vaccines. Scientists at WHO and around the world are working urgently to answer these questions, unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part C2 of the question, I wish to remind the House that despite the difficult economic situation, the government has this month disbursed a significant amount representing areas of Peer Research Bureau report to 2021 for the month of January to October 2021 and for the month of November 2021. With regard to the 14th-month bonus, the question does not fall under my prerogative. Mr. Speaker, sir, I welcome all the PNQs that the Leader of Opposition has addressed to me as Minister of Health and Wellness. This gives me the opportunity to highlight the tremendous amount of work being done by this government, the health frontliners, and other collaborators to contain the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, so I wish to point out that all PNQs have been answered with real facts and figures. I reassure the House that as Minister of Health and Wellness, with the unflinching support of the Honourable Prime Minister and all my colleagues, I will leave no stone unturned to provide each and every COVID patient with best treatment, care and support. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to seize this opportunity to express my deep sense of gratitude to all friendly countries and to other private organizations and NGOs for their assistance in fighting this pandemic. Mr. Speaker, sir, vaccination has proven its efficacy in the battle against COVID-19. I would again urge all citizens who are not yet vaccinated to do so at the earliest. Those who have not yet done their booster dose are also encouraged to come forward for same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Mr. Speaker, despite the misplaced self-satisfaction and arrogance of the Minister of Health, I would remind him that in November of this year, there have been almost twice as many people have died than last year, and he has only recognized 348 of these as being COVID deaths. So obviously, Mr. Speaker, his figures are false. I would like now, Mr. Speaker, to ask the Minister a question about the aged. In his last press conference that he had, he told us, Mr. Speaker, that 70% of the people who died were actually over 60 years old. And we find now that hardly 10% of them have actually been vaccinated. So with a booster dose. So my question, Mr. Speaker, what real effort is the ministry doing to reach out to the aged, who represent, as I mentioned, 70% of dead in the last week? What effort is being made to reach out to the aged to give them the booster dose?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'll come back to what the leader of opposition has said on satisfaction and arrogance and figures are false. Mr. Speaker, sir, in my reply, I've already given the figures as it is. This is undeniable that the number that I've given, the statistics that have been provided by the Civil Status Office, this is a mere figures. At no point of time we want to hide these figures. They are figures. But those who have passed away, unfortunately with COVID, stand at the figures that I've given. Again, these figures cannot be contrary to what the leader of opposition wanted us to say, that it's not so. The figures are the real figures. Now, the question about the booster dose, that only 10% of the population of those above 60 years have already done their booster dose. This is what we keep on saying, that the booster dose, as I've said, till May this year, the month of May, some 29,000 above 60 years old have done the vaccination, fully vaccinated. And to do the booster dose, you will require at least 4 months so that you can engage into the booster dose. So in the next coming month, we will see that the number of people coming for booster dose above 60 years will keep on increasing. This is the effort. Is government has already started the program of booster dose since 2 months back in September, and obviously, so you have to satisfy the criteria before receiving the booster dose. And this is an ongoing campaign. I wish the leader of the opposition will also say how government has been proactive in administering the booster dose. Even in UK today, booster dose is now that they are starting the booster dose, and in Mauritius, booster dose have already been started since 2 months.
Speaker, Mauritius has, even the figures that he has given, I'm contesting, currently has the highest death rate per capita, per million, in the whole world, Mr. Speaker. That is even the figures that the Minister of Health is giving. This is why, Mr. Speaker, there is the question of the efficacy of the Sinopharm vaccine, which, as the WHO itself stated, was never tested on the aged. Whereas in Mauritius, it was given a lot to old age people. This is why, Mr. Speaker, I am asking the Honourable Minister to make diligence and make sure that the aged receive the booster dose, whether it is Janssen or Pfizer, because the Sinopharm vaccine that they were given were never meant for them. And I have the document from WHO if the Minister wishes to refresh his memory.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Again, I will again point out what I've already stated in my reply, what was the WHO advice in November 2021 about efficacy and safety of vaccines. This has already been stated, and where Sinopharm also has been the vaccine that is recommended by the WHO. Mr. Speaker, sir, as for the booster dose, already the booster dose for the 30,713 of the population, there are different vaccines have been used for the booster dose, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Sinopharm. So this is an ongoing, there is an availability for booster dose, and all those vaccines are being used, and hopefully we'll be expecting more other vaccines or vaccines that we do have so that we can provide the population about booster dose.
Mr. Speaker, the Sinopharm vaccine is no longer being offered to anyone in Mauritius, as he knows. Not being offered as a booster dose to anyone in Mauritius. It is being gifted to the 2 African countries. That's a very good thing. Mr. Speaker, isn't that an admission that the Sinopharm vaccine was not appropriate in Mauritius for use, because he has taken nearly the whole lot and given to 2 African countries, whereas he's keeping the Pfizer and he's keeping the Johnson for Mauritius?
Sir, I've replied to this question in my, I won't repeat it again, saying what WHO has said about Sinopharm. And it's very good to point out what the leader of opposition, he's stating about the Sinopharm vaccine. We are very much, again, thankful to the peoples of China for donating in the beginning this vaccine. The government is very vaccine, and at that time, when we didn't have any vaccine, we have received this vaccine, and it's been proved, as per the statistics I've already given, that Sinopharm is a vaccine that has proved its efficacy, and obviously, fortunately, we have been able to manage to receive different vaccines at different points of time, and this has been used. And this is the same strategy we are going for, that it doesn't mean that we are not going to use Sinopharm vaccines. The availability of vaccines, it doesn't depend on the government, it depends upon the manufacturing company. And so, if all these vaccines will be available in Mauritius, definitely we will keep on going and evolving about the vaccination, especially looking at the surveillance, looking at the efficacy of vaccination based on scientific surveillance.
Mr. Speaker, the truth is that Sinopharm vaccine is no longer being offered to Mauritians. That is the truth. So I would like to ask the Honourable Minister, when are we due? We were told that tomorrow, I think, we are going to receive, 100,000 or more doses of Pfizer. Is that now to be expected tomorrow, or has that been postponed?
Mr. Speaker, sir, as for booster dose, our senior citizens have already been vaccinated with Sinopharm. The number stands at 5,221. And the vaccine, it doesn't depend on government to prove the efficacy. We will rely on international organization to give us the recommendation about Sinopharm. And again, I will again state that Sinopharm is a vaccine which has proved its efficiency. Now, the vaccines procedures have already been taken to receive Pfizer vaccine, and hopefully in the coming, if not by end of this month, before end of January next year, we'll be receiving a considerable amount of vaccination, of Pfizer vaccine.
Mr. Speaker, we are running out of stock of Pfizer and Janssen. The Minister told us that the vaccine is coming tomorrow. Now he tells us it will be either at the end of this month, which is today, or end of next month, which is a month's time. What is it? Which date, Mr. Minister, Honourable Minister, are you going to receive more vaccines? Because people are dying by the hundreds every week.
Yes, sir.
Order.
This question, it seems like leader of opposition willing to say that, again, we are lying on the date when we are going to have the delivery of the vaccine. This is not so. Mr. Speaker, sir, the vaccine, the agent that are going to deliver us the vaccine, they will give us the date. The agent will give us the date when it is a delivery train. We will follow the advice of the agent. If the agent is African Union, and 1 month back African Union tell us that they are going to deliver the vaccine on today, and they are not going to deliver it, it's going to be postponed, let's say, next week, then this doesn't depend upon the government. What he wants to impute, what he wants to refer to, saying that it is the ministry that is not giving the appropriate date. It is not so.
I'm saying that many countries have many vaccines because they were intelligent and pre-ordered and ordered in time. This minister, this government, never did so. They thought it was...
Order.
I'm telling the Honourable Minister that we have a stock of vaccine that will last us maybe 1 week or two, and after that there will be no more booster, whereas we know, Mr. Speaker, that we need the booster vaccine to protect the population, and that is why I'm asking him to give us a definite date. That is his work, his responsibility to tell us and procure the vaccines.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as at date today, the number of Pfizer doses that we do have stands at 109,248. The number of Janssen that we do have in our stock as at date stands at 286,945. Mr. Speaker, sir, as per the leader of the opposition, honorable leader of the opposition, so we are going to do the vaccination for nearly more than, it's nearly 400,000 doses in 1 week. That would be incredible. I wish that we would be able to finish those doses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the encouragement that the leader of opposition is giving us, that we'll be doing nearly 400,000 doses in 1 week, and that's why we won't have vaccine for the next week.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have the same figures he has for the Johnson vaccine. I don't know whether he's telling us the truth. I hope he's telling us the truth.
No.
Order.
He can substantiate that at some later time. But, Mr. Speaker, it would be irresponsible of him not to give us a date as to when the next lot of vaccines are coming.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I request the leader of opposition, whatever figures he has to table it. And where is the source that he has got these figures? I am going to table my figures and my stock, whatever I've stated. I'm inviting him to table it because it's not possible, if he doesn't have any other questions to ask me, to come back and saying that, oh, my figures are not good. First question is about death figures, it's not good. I'm not giving the proper figures. Now about the vaccination stocks, that also we are not giving the figures. So if you don't have any question, let other members, give a chance to other members.
Leaves what he said, 90% of the population also vaccination. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Honourable Minister, on the 17th of November, on the 17th...
Order!
What do you want me to table? On the 17th...
Order, I'm on my feet. Mind your language.
Mr. Speaker, on the 17th of November, the Deputy Prime Minister, who is not here in Spain, I think, stated that Mauritius is safe as a destination for tourists. On that same date, Mr. Speaker, we were averaging some 20 deaths a day. Did he at all raise this issue with the Deputy Prime Minister to say the negative effect that would have on our population, on its preparedness and state of preparation for COVID and social distancing, and also, Mr. Speaker, that it would destroy our credibility overseas? Did he raise this issue with the Deputy Prime Minister?
Mr. Speaker, sir, let me remind the House that the high-level committee, even during the absence of the Honourable Prime Minister, was chaired by the by the Deputy Prime Minister on a daily basis. During the high-level committee, the committee takes stock all the situation, be it in terms of testing, be it in terms of positivity, be it in terms of the death, be it in terms of the hospitalization, or all other figures is being taken in stock, and in the presence of the WHO expert also, the WHO representative and other experts in the field of public health. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, taken into consideration all these aspects, measures being taken as appropriate as it is, so that's why whenever the situation during that time, we have seen that there have been an increase in the number of cases, obviously the decisions to all other sanitary measures, precautions and decisions that has come, it has come in line with the high-level committee.
Mr. Speaker, as far as Omicron is concerned, the Honourable Minister has told us that no case has been detected here. Is it because the sequencing results are not yet available because for some reason it can take weeks in Mauritius? Or is it because the sequencing for yesterday or the day before's arrivals have been done and no Omicron variant has been found? Which is which, please?
Mr. Speaker, sir, in my reply I already stated that the world came to know about this virus, it was on Thursday in the evening. And as from Friday in the morning, during the cabinet, decisions have already been taken. Now, about the sequencing, the test to do the sequencing, that is this variant, the Omicron variant, we can do this in Mauritius. And before doing sequencing, there are other tests, as I explained about the S gene, the other tests through the PCR testing, we can identify which are the samples where we have you have a mutation of the gene, and this being carried out. This is the test that is already being done, and what are the tests that will follow in the future. Rest assured, Mr. Speaker, sir, that sequencing is being done on a regular basis. As so far, no Omicron has been detected in Mauritius, though we keep on doing the gene mutation, the PCR mutation test.
Time over by 3 minutes already. Honourable members, the table has been advised that PQB 1236 will be replied by Honourable Minister of Land Transport and Light Rail, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration, International Trade. That PQB 1240, 1241, 1242 have been withdrawn. Honourable David.
B 1233.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited is the sole operator for container handling activities at Port Louis Harbour. It also handles general and bulk cargoes, excluding products through pipelines and conveyor belts. With a team of some 1,290 personnel across its 3 distinct business units, namely the Mauritius Container Terminal, the Multi-Purpose Terminal, and its corporate services, the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited aims at offering an efficient and reliable service to the shipping community and port users. In 2019, the corporation handled an average of 55,000 20-foot equivalent units of containers per month. Due to the global COVID-19 pandemic and ensuing disruptions in maritime and logistics global trade, there was a slight drop in activities at Port Louis in 2020, with the container traffic decreasing to around 52,000 TEUs monthly. Based on the current year statistics, the situation is on an increasing trend compared to that of 2020. In that respect, I am informed by the Managing Director of Cargo Handling Corporation Limited that although the number of containers handled will probably not reach the peak of 2019, an average of 54,000 TEUs per month is being expected for 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the purpose of container handling in the harbour, highly specialized equipments are used by the corporation for specific operations. With a view to providing high-level services to economic operators, the corporation has invested massively in modern container handling equipment. For instance, in addition to the existing 5 ship-to-shore cranes, 2 superposed Panamax ship-to-shore cranes were commissioned in 2017 and 1 in 2019 to service new generation vessels. In addition, 8 rubber tire gantry cranes were commissioned during the same period. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to tractors and trailers, they are mainly used for the conveyance of containers from quays to the stacking areas during offloading operations and from the stacking areas to the quays during loading operations. These equipments are also used for shifting of containers for scanning and examination purposes by customs and other authorities. As regards Part A of the question, I am informed by the Managing Director of the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited that the corporation has currently a fleet of 61 tractors and 70 trailers. Out of the 61 tractors, 15 are under repairs, 4 since 2020, and 11 during the course of this year. Out of the 70 trailers, 19 are grounded for repairs, 2 since 2020, and 17 during the course of this year. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am also informed that the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited has already initiated necessary actions for the repair of all the grounded equipments. Accordingly, the corporation has already ordered spare parts from local and overseas suppliers. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting disruption in the supply chain worldwide, the spare parts ordered from overseas have a longer transit time and are yet to reach Mauritius. Furthermore, overseas manufacturers have reduced their production due to economic difficulties and shortage of raw materials. The local suppliers are also facing the same difficulties in procuring the spare parts ordered by the corporation. Moreover, some of the tractors and trailers are very old and their spare parts are no longer available off the shelf. Hence, these spare parts have to be manufactured to order. This further delays the delivery of spare parts. Once the spare parts are delivered to the corporation, its in-house maintenance team will carry out the necessary repairs. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, I am informed that for the smooth operations at the 2 terminals and stacking areas, the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited requires optimally 45 tractors along with trailers at all times. Out of the 8 ship-to-shore cranes at Mauritius Container Terminal, a maximum of 6 is used at a time, firstly, due to limitations in respect of vessel configuration, and secondly, to maintain a spare capacity so as to cater for breakdown and downtime for regular maintenance and servicing of the cranes in accordance with the manufacturer's recommendations. The agreed formula for vehicle deployment for daily ship-to-shore operations requires 5 tractors with trailers per crane, that is, 30 such vehicles for the 6 cranes under operation at its peak. Additionally, 5 tractors with trailers are required for servicing the multipurpose terminal, and 10 other tractors and trailers are needed for yard operations, namely for scanning and verification by customs and other authorities. During peak of operation, if the need arises, Cargo Handling Corporation Limited can pool up such equipment between the 2 terminals for an efficient service. Therefore, Cargo Handling Corporation Limited is not facing any shortage of tractors and trailers for its smooth operations, as it has presently 46 tractors and 51 trailers in running conditions, and these are adequate for the volume of containers handled at the Mauritius Container Terminal. These equipments are, however, extensively used pending the coming back into operation of the grounded equipment. Therefore, it is a fact that from time to time these equipments may be subjected to minor breakdowns which are speedily repaired by the in-house maintenance team. Taking into consideration the rest time and downtime due to breakdown, there is need for some spare capacity in the fleet of these vehicles. Once all the grounded equipment will be repaired, the spare capacity will be restored. In case of need, as a last resort, the corporation also has the option of hiring the services of private lorries to ensure continuity of container handling operations at the terminal. Furthermore, the corporation has worked out a plan for the next 4 financial years for the replacement and renewal of its handling equipment, with a view to enhancing its services for captive and transshipment business activities in the port. This will help achieve the vision of government for transforming Port Louis Harbour into a major transport, logistics and maritime hub connecting Europe, Africa and Asia. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'ai écouté la réponse du Premier ministre avec beaucoup d'attention, comme d'habitude. Puis-je demander au Premier ministre si a été porté à son attention que lors de la dernière commande pour 13 camions et 17 remorques par la Cargo Handling Corporation, si je ne me trompe pas, c'était une commande passée en 2019 avec une livraison qui a été effective en 2020, que la quasi-totalité des remorques étaient inutilisables parce qu'elles ne répondaient pas aux spécifications techniques de l'appel d'offres, à savoir qu'avec un poids de 65 tonnes sur la plateforme, une partie de cet équipement touchait le sol du port et arrachait même le bitume.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that during the last procurement exercise, the tractors, the trailers that were supplied by the company, in fact, had some problems. And the attention of the supplier was drawn by the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited, and they have undertaken to remedy the situation. I understand that there was a number of trailers that were repaired, but I'm still informed that it was not to the satisfaction of the Cargo Handling Corporation. So the matter is being looked into, and where eventually the suppliers will have to provide equipment, trailers, and I think it is mainly with regard to the trailers, according to the specifications, of course, that has been laid on the tender procurement document.
Honorable Itu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. With regards to that contract, can we know from the Honorable Prime Minister what was the amount of the contract value and whether how the amount paid and whether there was any retention money? Thank you.
Well, let me find out. The total amount paid at the end of the contract, total amount paid to date, total amount paid to date is 79,145,059 rupees and 71 cents. Now, I understand that a penalty has been applied and one item retained for non-performance of contract. I have the details, but let me give the amount. The total amount that was deducted was 9,601,771 rupees and 73 cents. There is also retention money of 5% that is to be paid after warranty period as per contractual obligation, amounting to 4,670,885 rupees and 87 cents.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Can Prime Minister inform the House as to the suppliers? Can we have the name of the suppliers of spare parts and whether there was a procurement exercise called for?
Yes, there was a tender for the procurement of those 13 tractors and 17 trailers that was launched through an open advertised bidding on 28th of August 2019, and at closing date, that is on the 8th of October 2019, 4 bids were received. There are all the bidders. And then the lowest responsive offer was from JV joint venture PSL Mafi UMCL at a total cost of 93,417,717 rupees and 30 cents. Now, upon the award of the contract, the supplier was paid 15% of the contract value, and the delivery of the tractors and trailers was originally set for 15th of September 2020, but was subsequently extended to the 4th October 2020.
Now, there is something that's going on.
Due to COVID-19, the 13 tractors arrived in Mauritius on 23rd of July 2020, and the 17 trailers arrived in August 2020. And I understand that the commissioning of the equipment started on 14th of September 2020 and was carried out by the technical manager, assisted by his technical team and the operational staff and so on. And now, during the exercise, it was found that the trailers were not able to safely withstand a load of 65 tons as specified in the tender documents. So, as I say, I don't want to go into all the details. There has been coming back to the supplier to ask them to remedy the situation. There have been engineers who have had a look at what was wrong and what should be done from the side of the CHL also. And so this matter has not yet been sorted out, I must say.
Honorable Danu.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In his reply, the Honourable Prime Minister mentioned the spare parts, that spare parts are being ordered from both local and overseas suppliers to repair the trailers and tractors that are grounded. Can the Honourable Prime Minister give the name of the spare parts companies, both local and overseas, or table it?
So, the spare parts are not with regard to those trailers that I mentioned, that is those that have been supplied from the joint venture PSL, MAFI, UMCL. They are with regard to other breakdowns that occasionally occur at the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited, and that therefore spare parts are ordered and then they are repaired in-house. So these are concerned with the tractors and the trailers that are being repaired at the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited. But from where the spare parts are ordered, I don't have the I don't think I have the list, but I can obviously provide a list of from where they are being procured, whether locally or from abroad.
Dans sa réponse, le Premier ministre a mentionné qu'il y a un in-house maintenance team. Puis-je demander au Premier ministre s'il y a actuellement un responsable maintenance en poste? Si oui, depuis quand? Et sinon, pour quelle raison?
Well, I don't think I have this information. I need notice of that question. I will find out and provide this information to the House.
Yes, sir. Can the Prime Minister inform the House as to investments made by CHL from the period 2010 to 2014 compared to the period 2015 onwards? Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, according to available records, the investment made by Cargo Handling Corporation during 2010 to 2014 were nil. In fact, it is after coming of this government in December 2014 that investments at the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited stood at 1.4 billion rupees since 2015, and the various container handling equipments, including the refurbishment of the existing free ship-to-shore cranes, acquisition of 2 new ship-to-shore cranes, rubber-tired gantry cranes, and tractors and trailers. Another 625 million rupees were spent in the acquisition of 1 superposed Panama ship-to-shore crane and other container handling equipment. Thus, the total amount spent by the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited since 2015 to date is roughly about 2 billion rupees.
MP Juman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Prime Minister, can you inform the House of the total contract value of the contract, and why 79 million rupees have been paid despite we are not satisfied with the required specification?
Well, the total, as I say, total cost, because it was awarded to the lowest responsive offer of JVPSL MAFI UMCL at a total cost of 93,417,717 rupees and 30 cents. Now, I must say, I am also not very happy with this situation, because we have a procurement where there has been a committee which has evaluated all the bids, and those tractors now have been supplied to Cargo Handling Corporation Limited, and they are not in good running condition, as we can see. Now, the Cargo Handling Corporation, of course, is taking the matter, has raised the matter with the supplier, and they have sought also legal advice, and they have asked the supplier to remedy this situation so that these trailers should be in working condition.
And can the Prime Minister inform the House who chaired the allocation committee, whether it was the chairperson or the general manager?
No, I don't have this information. Who has chaired this committee? I don't know if my officer is here, but I will definitely provide this information to the House, because there was an evaluation committee, as usual, to look into all these specifications. Whether the board? No, this is not. It was not the board who decided on this procurement exercise. There is a specific committee to evaluate all the bids and has recommended the lowest responsive bidder, which I mentioned earlier.
Yes, can the Prime Minister inform the House what are the future plans of Cargo Handling Corporation Limited as regards the acquisition of additional container of handling equipment?
From what I can gather, for the years to come, that is 2021, 22 onwards, that is for the 4 coming years, there is already earmarked acquisition of 30 tractors and trailers, and the project is estimated at around 250 million rupees. And I understand that, therefore, for year 2021-2022, 125 million rupees will be spent, and for 2022-2023, 125 million rupees again will be spent. So in all, 30 tractors and trailers. Coming to the earlier, if I may, Mr. Speaker, sir, to the earlier question, I am informed that the technical manager, who is an engineer, had chaired the evaluation committee. I can give his name also later on.
Honorable Osman Mohamed.
Yes, thank you. The Prime Minister mentioned that 65 tons was specified in the tender documents. Can I ask him whether, for the sake of clarity, is it that the specifications were not correct or the specifications were not followed? And if the specifications were not followed, what sanction will be taken against the supplier, like banning him, in order not to have such a situation in the future?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I cannot pass any judgment on whether a specification was, whether it was correct or it was not followed. It will be for the lawyers who are already advising the Cargo Handling Corporation to then tell us where is the fault, from where it comes from, and of course, appropriate legal action will be taken.
Thank
you. Honourable Prime Minister, can we know whether the payment was recommended by the engineer? The 79 million rupees payment to the supplier was recommended by the engineer of the inspection of the equipment.
Well, Mr. Speaker, sir, definitely payment must have been recommended, but I cannot say by whom, because payment has been effected. As I mentioned, I have mentioned the sum that has already been paid. It must have been recommended. If it was not recommended, then we need to find out. And of course, we will carry out an inquiry to find out what has happened.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Est-ce que le Premier ministre peut informer la Chambre le fait que ça fait déjà 3 ans que les tracteurs, 17 tracteurs sont déficients? Est-ce que le Premier ministre a pu voir avec les officiers de la Cargo Handling Corporation? Est-ce que le fait que 17 tracteurs sont manquants, est-ce que cela a impacté
sur les opérations, l'efficience de la Cargo Handling Corporation depuis 3 ans?
Well, I have replied. It has not impacted. In fact, we have been able to service all the containers that had to be transferred from ship to shore and from shore to the container terminal park and to the businesses. And likewise, we've been able to manage to transfer those containers that had to be loaded onto the ship.
Honorable Mia.
Thank you. Can I ask the Honorable Prime Minister whether the Cargo Handling Corporation has contracted out local companies in an attempt to ensure proper service continuity of the corporation, considering that there has been issues with the acquisition of these trailers over the last at least 24 months?
I am informed that only on one day, that is the 3rd of September 2021, the Cargo Handling Corporation Limited had hired taxi lorries, that is 4, for their second shift, that is between 1500 hours to 2300 hours, and for the third shift from 2300 hours to 700 hours, and the total cost to the Cargo Handling Corporation was 60,000 rupees.
Rajuman? No question? Only hands? So, 2 minutes left, Honorable Labin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, B1234, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in December 2017, the Police Department signed a contract agreement for the provision of safe city services with Mauritius Telecom on a 20-year operating lease basis. The objective of the Safe City project rests on 2 pillars, which are the safety of our population and the security of our nation. It basically assists the police department in combating crimes and in elucidating cases, and is also a deterrent to potential offenders and to criminals. In fact, the Safe City project aims to be an obstacle in the way of potential offenders so as to discourage them to flout the law and disrupt order for fear of detection and arrest. Mr. Speaker, sir, in 2018, consultations were held between the Police Department and the Data Protection Office with a view to ensuring that the rights of data subjects are protected whilst enabling the Police Department to achieve the legitimate aim of prevention and detection of crime. It is worthy to note that under Section 44 of the Data Protection Act, an exception to any provision of the Act can be made where it constitutes a necessary and proportionate measure for the protection of national security, defense, or public security, subject to Section 44(4) and for the prevention, detection, or prosecution of an offense. Yet, the Mauritius Police Force has been exempted from only a limited set of provision in the interests of national security and public security, namely Sections 23, subsection 2, 3, and 4, Section 26, Section 29, but only with respect to personal data pertaining to the commission or alleged commission of an offense by a data subject, Section 37, Section 38, and Section 21, insofar as it corresponds to the rights provided for in Sections 23, subsection 2, 3, and 4, Section 26 and 29 and sections 37 and 38. Therefore, the Mauritius Police Force is still under an obligation to comply with most of the provisions of the Data Protection Act when operating the Safe City cameras. Mr. Speaker, sir, the project which is being implemented comprises the following deliverables: supply, installation, testing and commissioning of 4,000 surveillance cameras over 2,000 intelligent video surveillance sites. Supply, installation, testing and commissioning of 300 traffic cameras over 75 intelligent traffic surveillance sites. Supply, installation, testing and commissioning of 45 enterprise enhanced long-term evolution sites, including 4,500 multimedia radio trunking, 350 vehicular-mounted radios, and 150 static radios, and a centralized command and control center, 7 sub-command centers, and a traffic management and control center. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed by the Acting Commissioner of Police that all of the 4,000 surveillance cameras have built-in face recognition capabilities which, when enabled, may allow the identification of an individual's identity through the characteristics of his or her face. The technology provides for the matching of faces captured with the existing face prints in a database of photographs of individuals. However, the Acting Commissioner of Police has informed that the face recognition technology in surveillance cameras is not yet operational, and that currently authorized police officers are able to view the live footages of public places. When a case is reported, police officers analyze the video footages in the vicinity of the incident in search of clues to elucidate the case. A request is then sent to the main command and control center to extract the particular footage, store it on a CD, and hand it over to the police officer conducting the inquiry. Mr. Speaker, sir, since the Safe City project became operational in 2019, many cases have effectively been resolved with the inputs of its cameras as follows: 57 in 2019, 77 in 2020, and 120 so far this year. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am also informed by the Acting Commissioner of Police that there has been no exercise so far to collect biometric photographs for the purposes of the Safe City project. The question of having a database for same, therefore, does not arise. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am aware that there are ongoing international debates on the use of face recognition technology by police authorities. But let me again reassure the population that the aim of the Safe City project is to assist the police in ensuring the safety of the public more effectively and efficiently. As such, it is proposed to use the face recognition technology, for example, in cases where crimes have been committed, for the purposes of identifying the perpetrators against a limited database constituting of habitual criminals and persons who are already on police records. It will also be used in the search for missing persons following a responsible person reporting such a case and consenting to the use of photographs of a missing person, which will be uploaded in the system for search and identification purposes. The Police Department will hold discussions with the Attorney General's Office and the Data Protection Office with regard to having a specific legal framework for the use of face recognition technology in the Safe City project. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me also and again reassure the whole country that the Safe City project is not and shall never be a repressive tool, as my government has and will always have at heart the well-being of our population.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, with regard to the code of practice that was under preparation by the Data Protection Commissioner, has same been finalized? And if so, will he table same in this House to know the parameters that those code of practice is being drafted upon?
Yes, the code of practice. I think I answered a question earlier with regard to the code of practice, which is already, I have a copy with me. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think I have already tabled also a copy. And at any rate, it is also available on the website of the Commission of the Police Department. So yes, I can again, if need be, I will check, but if need be, I can table a copy of the code of practice.
With regard to the tests that are due to be carried out on the software with regards to the face recognition technology, can the Honourable Prime Minister inform this House how many trained personnel at the level of the police force have been offered training, and by which organization, please?
I think if the Honourable Member would have listened carefully to my answer, we are not yet there. I have said that this is not operational. I have said also what is intended in the future. But of course, I have said also that there are going to be discussions with the Attorney General's office, with the Data Protection Office. And of course, we need to be prepared in terms both of the human resources as well, and officers will have to have specific training with regard to eventually the operation of the system.
Time over by 10 minutes. Honourable members, the table had been advised that PQB 1302 will be replied by the Honourable Minister of Land and Light Rail, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade. PQB 1270, PQB 1287, PQB 1288, B 1290, B 1291, B 1312, B 1313, and B 1314 have been withdrawn. Honourable Juman.
B 1244.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to the new ENT hospital, I'm informed that 139 patients have passed away since 1st November to 28 November 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your kind permission, I'm tabling the information as requested by Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Minister, can you repeat the number of deaths, please?
In regard to the new ENT hospital, I'm informed that 139 patients have passed away since 1st November to 28 November 2021.
Honourable Minister, as per official figures from GIS, which is published every day, number of admissions from 1st November to 28th of November amount to 226, which represent 50%, approximately 50% of persons who were admitted to ENT hospital died. Is there any specific problem, or what the exact problem that the rate of death is relatively high at the ENT hospital?
Mr. Speaker, sir, that does mean that at ENT hospital before the 1st November there was no patient. This is not the case. Already there were patients admitted at ENT hospital before the 1st, and also we have to account that on 29th there are still patients admitted over there. Now the second part of the question is the high mortality rate we have at ENT. I believe that honorable member will agree with me that in all countries where there was a peak, be it in Europe, in USA, in UK, where the deaths were more than 10,000, 12,000 on a daily basis. And what we have witnessed that over there was no bed to receive patients, there was no ventilators. We have to choose who to put on ventilators and who not to put on ventilators. This has not been the situation in Mauritius. Everybody who have turned up, be it in a mild, moderate, or severe condition, have been given appropriate treatment. Now, international figures, WHO also have given that in a specialized setup for COVID emergencies, the death rate across the world is more than 50%. And if we have evaluated ours from 1st September to now, it is around 38%. That means that our treatment has been appropriate, but unfortunately, that the death has been a significant number of people have passed away.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Can the Honourable Minister please inform the House on the number of COVID patients that have been admitted to the new ENT hospitals? How many have recovered between the period 1st November to the 28th of November of this year? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'll try to find out if ever I have these figures. But I have figures that 66 out of the 39 patients who have passed away were vaccinated. No, this is not the appropriate figure. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'll table the figures for the number who have recovered and have been discharged from ENT hospital.
So the last supplementary, Mr. Jumani.
L'honorable ministre, vous avez fait une demande urgente avec le gouvernement français pour dépêcher un senior réanimateur et une infirmière senior pour effectuer un audit à l'hôpital INT. Et est-ce pour la raison qu'il y a trop de morts, il y a un problème? C'est pour ça que vous avez fait cette demande urgente pour un audit à l'hôpital INT?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the PQ 1245 is on this subject. Now, if the honourable member wish to answer the second PQ now, I'll do so.
The next question. That was the last supplementary.
B1245.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the COVID-19 Strategic Preparedness and Response Plan provides for measures to be taken to strengthen our capacity to track COVID-19 surges in order to effectively anticipate, timely detect and implement priority actions to deal with the emerging new variants of concern and their impact on therapeutics and disease severity. With increasing number of COVID-19 cases being registered daily since the beginning of November, my ministry wrote to the Ambassador of France during the second week of November to express our supplementary requirement in terms of oxygen in the near future. Moreover, the French Embassy was requested to provide us with one anesthesia resuscitation specialist and one nursing officer specialized in the field of resuscitation services on an urgent basis, to provide support to the team posted at ENT hospital, to provide one-day training to our anesthetists and our nursing cadre in COVID-19 treatment centers, to make an audit of our treatment services and protocols, to propose recommendation on the improvement of our protocols for resuscitation services. Mr. Speaker, so accordingly, we received a reply on 25th November 2021 from the French Embassy, wherein we have been informed that a team comprising of one anesthesia resuscitation specialist and one nursing officer specialized in the field of resuscitation services would be in Mauritius as from 29th November to 3rd December 2021. The medical team is already in Mauritius. The Indian Ocean Commission would meet all costs of the mission of the team. Moreover, 96 syringe pumps, 9 ventilators, and 20,000 rapid antigen tests would also be provided. The date of arrival is being finalized. Mr. Speaker, so moreover, we have already received 4 consignments of liquid oxygen of 20 tons each from Réunion Island through the assistance of Le Barracuda on 20th, 23rd, 24th and 25th November respectively. It is expected to have 5 or 6 rotations for shipment of additional consignments which will allow us to meet our future requirements for the coming weeks, in case the need be.
De ces 80 tonnes d'oxygène, combien sont déjà utilisés et combien sont stockés?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't have the figures, but I will definitely table this, how many we have utilized and how many are still in our store.
Thank you, Mr. the Speaker, sir. With regards to the consignment of oxygen, who is bearing the costs of these oxygen? Is it the state or the companies that were supposed to provide the ministry with the oxygen?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the arrangements being done between the companies and one company in Réunion Island to make provision for oxygen. The companies will bear the cost of the oxygen. The ministry has assisted the transfer of the oxygen on a timely, on a rapid basis.
Le ministre peut confirmer, vu le contenu et l'urgence de cette lettre, est-ce que le ministre peut dire à la Chambre si le ministère des Affaires étrangères ou le ministre des Affaires étrangères était au courant du contenu et de l'envoi de cette lettre?
Mr. Speaker, sir, all letters addressed to any foreign country or embassy, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs been made, they are being made aware of the all correspondence addressed to any foreign institutions.
You have a last?
Honorable ministre, est-ce que pour ce 80 tonnes d'oxygène, c'était urgent ou c'était pour utiliser pour les mois après? Parce que dans un statement que vous avez fait à la Chambre la semaine dernière, vous avez dit que...
Order.
Come on.
Order.
Vous avez dit que c'est pour utiliser dans les mois à venir. Et là, on a payé, ce qu'on vient d'entendre d'après votre réponse, on a payé, on a transporté ça pour le fournisseur qui est Samlo Koyenko.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I again repeat what I've already said in my statement. The same statement applies now also.
So, honourable members, I'll suspend the sitting for 1.5 hours.